Good morning, guys. We got a decent run last night. Of course, while we were sleeping, or at least some of us. Okay, so for Bitcoin, we can go over Bitcoin really quick, but it's kind of went over a little bit yesterday. Today, the more exciting thing is what's going on in the altcoin space. But we broke past a supply concern for Bitcoin. We only had to tap it about 3 times before breaking through it. So now we can get rid of that. We don't need that anymore. We are basically at the final boss right now, where there's a decent amount of liquidity like resting above the zone. Yeah, that's like the final little boss. We just gotta see if that liquidity is gonna be used as exit liquidity that could cause the price to draw back down. But right here, this is the valley area high where we were targeting pretty much since we broke out way down at, where is it? Yeah, 85K. So we're almost there. And then if we get support off this valley area and we get a continuation, then we could actually see the falling wedges target. Go to the daily really quick so you can see it better. And the valley area high here is, other than some structural barriers, like this is pretty much the final boss before getting to the all-time high. And just prior to that, we have a daily order block. We have a supply concern here, but honestly, like, we're pretty much almost there. And the other dominance, let's go over to that chart really quick. Let me just zoom back into the 15-minute in case something happens on Bitcoin. The other dominance, we got a double bottom. We grabbed, if we were to treat this like an asset, we came down and grabbed liquidity and we broke a neckline of a double bottom for resistance, and now we're like having a semi-decent rally. And if we go to the daily, this is what we wanted. We wanted the daily to do exactly what it did. We wanted it to go down, grab this low, and come back up and close back inside this range. So, like we were talking about yesterday during like the trade hunting call with the community, like if this were to occur, then you'd expect most of like the bigger altcoins to start to rally back up. And like the daily barrier of concern is here at $8 and sorry, not $8, 8.2%. So if we get past 8.2%, guys, and we see this like a break structure retest, then we're going to be having what people are going to be saying is going to be like, this is the altcoin season and blah blah blah. But it's just going to be an altcoin rally, nothing like a season. But it's a really good start to prepare for something like that. This is like the front run to a season, potentially. Not saying for sure. Like Bitcoin needs to be like in the overheated zone before we can define like an actual season. But the front run rally is the best part to get into before the season occurs. The season's when things are not really making any sense and you can't really get into it because it just keeps going up dramatically kind of thing. The assets I was looking at yesterday, and I'm kind of upset that I missed out on it because I missed out on my own calls for these. Atom was a really, really big one that I was preparing for because of its positioning was one of the ones that I was like, okay, cool. If we're going to be potentially having a rally for alts, Atom's positioning is perfect for something like that. It was at a Valerie low, had an inverse head and shoulders. It just bounced off of a point of interest that's been around for 55 days. And it just felt like one of the good assets to bank on if you wanted to pick a vehicle out of all the altcoins, like which one's a really good choice for a high probability of a good return for like a long. And we got that inverse head and shoulders confirmed last night, unfortunately around like 11 o'clock like PM. So I wasn't really looking at the charts, and So if anyone jumped in on Atom, the big next area of concern is like right here, like 448. Then we have to watch out for the POC. And then lastly, above the 474 to the value area high. Like you have like basically 4 barriers, some weaker than others, but let's look at the weighted value of the POC. Like the POC is not the strongest part here though. It's right below it. If we mark, I guess right here, so we have like the strongest area along the way up based on that volume shelf. But between then and here, like that's a close to a 10% move, like 9% move, and to the top it's about 15%. Yeah, 15.7%. TIA was another good one that we're looking at. It kind of looks like it went kind of wacky there a bit on the last, a couple hours ago. We hit the 50-day EMA and then had a decent shell shadow wick from it. But we're still above a previous value area high. That can be used as a form of support to allow a continuation, so don't freak out just yet if you're in on that. But yeah, this one was a good one too. And it looks like DOT ran off as well. We are out of that value area and we just like skyrocketed to the next. And we're now back at this supply concern here. Let's go to the 15-minute. Yeah, so we basically can see like an inverse head and shoulders as well here. Stacked a bunch of liquidity, allow it to launch. Got acceptance in the value area within. Yeah, we just busted right through it, and now we're at a supply concern. So technically, DOT's in an area where you want to prepare for a potential short. We got bearish divergence. See here from these two equal these highs here. So this right here is a strong low. If broken, could induce a reversal. So this would be a key area of interest if you want to see a potential continuation to the downside, like a strong reversal. It's at a value area high, so you treat it as if we were inside this value area, right? So you would watch out for this value area as like volume shelf where this red dotted line is. We could delete this orange line. That was for the last trade. But yeah, we're gonna watch this volume shelf along the way down. That confirms. But we can ultimately target $4.06. But yeah, things are running up. Of course, this one, most of us are sleeping. What are you guys doing in the chat today? We got Hecatord. Noah, what's up, man? Shanti, starting with the sass, right on, man. The Duckin from Australia, nice. Moo Juice, what's up, man? Big Time Mindset wants to look at JASMY. Let's take a peek at JASMY and see what's going on there. So I guess it's only been 15 minutes. We looked at like 4 assets. Let's go to like Bitcoin's positioning just to watch. See, like here's our key area right here. Let's see if we fall back. Looks like we got a good spot for a potential bounce right here. Maybe for a continuation. If we lose that, then we can come down and potentially retest our zone. Let's pull up JASMY. I think we have a JASMY chart. There we go. Last time we looked at it was April 2nd. Jeez. We have a coach named David that makes a lot of money on JASMY. One of his favorite assets to trade. Okay, let's zoom out a little more. Where is this green line coming from? Okay, it's coming from the previous high of 5.9 cents. So this is the momentum from the sell pressure. If we break this, we've had a lot of negative space against it. We had like evolving momentum that drove the price down faster. And we came down to a key area of like a demand zone. Let me zoom out a little bit so you can find out where it's from. Just over here. It used to be a supply concern. Now it's kind of converted into like an area of interest for potential demand. We got a really strong bounce off of it. We got a lot of noise on this chart. This is the average level. Let's delete that. Delete this. Yeah, just deleting some noise, guys. Control, drag, delete. Oh, I didn't grab any of the anchors. That's funny. But yeah, now we're at a previous area of resistance where a lot of people's average roughly is within this range. So we're bound to, like, when we have that much of a deviation away from a huge amount of people's accumulation average from a range like this, we're bound to see it act as a form of resistance. As those people exit, being back in either like break even or in a profit, they usually will exit around those levels. That's why support usually flips as resistance when we reapproach it again, because it becomes a zone where a lot of like traders averages that don't decide to trade with a stop loss or anything like that, they want to get out. Looking at the 4 hour, we have potential, we see warnings of distribution, like people are selling right now. So we have a potential head and shoulders forming, not confirmed yet, but it's like an ascending support zone like this. Let's see, we had an internal fractalization of a head and shoulders right here. That's a sign that JASMY might have some potential algorithmic market makers usually form fractalization like that. Yeah, so right now it's a little bit of a waiting game. If we pull up a fixed range volume profile from this zone of interest here, we can use the value area data to help assist with the current price action of JASMY. We got the value area low. I'm going to press Control and click and drag to allow me to clone it. I learned that a couple weeks ago, and I'm really frustrated about it because it could have saved me a ton of time. So you just hold Control, click and drag on anything on your chart, and it'll clone it. All right, so we have our value area data from this market structure here. We just hit the POC as a form of resistance. We got a decent amount of volume in that area, so we got to prepare for potentially actual resistance and draw price back down to the value area low. If we lose that value area low, then we could anticipate that this could convert into more of a larger head and shoulders. So we just got to be mindful of that. And we're combating a macro downtrending form of momentum that's been holding it down since the price was at 5 cents, and now it's at like 1.6 cents. So that's a pretty important key area that we got to watch. Now it's downtrending, and anything that's downtrending or uptrending, you should have it validated through order books. So try to see if there's any sell walls that are following this downtrending level of resistance. If you see any sell walls following it, then you can anticipate that it's going to be respected. And usually how you'll see it trail the price action is like right below the candle, or right above the candle in this scenario, sorry. You'll see the wall, and as a new candle populates, the wall will shift and change. And sometimes it's based on like an hourly candle, sometimes it's based on like a 4-hourly candle. So you'll notice the shift and change, especially if you're using a tool like Bookmap. If anyone has like Bookmap, their tool allows you to see the order books change and when they changed. with using like a heat system. Yeah, that's what I'll be preparing for. Potential reversals off this POC. It does look like we're getting some confluence with that, right? We're getting like DOT being at an area of concern for a potential reversal. Bitcoin building a form of divergence here that could also kind of create like a head and shoulders if they were to complete a move like that. But we do have reason to bounce here. So it does look like there's some reason to prepare for reversals on some assets. So if you see a lot of assets doing it at the same time, you listen to the correlation, because sometimes it requires, like, that means it's like a big warning sign that things are about to, you know, jump back up or come down or something like that. Ethereum, we were looking at Ethereum yesterday, but even though like I felt pretty confident about the short, like it started off strong, I told people just to ignore my signal because of the fact that we had FOMC yesterday, and a lot of the times when you're trading so close to the time FOMC starts, you can get your face melted off. So yeah, but right before the FOMC, we were doing this live, right? And we got the short call that we're talking about. We were looking at the 5-minute chart in yesterday's live, and it was the head and shoulders kind of concept. We had that against the value area high. We lost momentum. The momentum was acting as a form of resistance. It confirmed as a break during the live, and yeah, the stop loss guard would have started here or higher, and we ended up hitting our target. As soon as we hit our target, we had this buy like long confluence zone. It was acting extremely wonky and crazy because this was during the FOMC. But it looks like we double bottomed our way out. We had a break of structure into the confirmation. Like, I'll trade these, or I'll trade it this way. But either way, you'll usually get a good stop loss guard to like protect your capital. But yeah, guys, what do you guys want to look at? Crypto Pollo, what's up, man? We got a chicken in the house. Shanti's lurking. How about that stinky link? Okay. Okay, so link was asked first. We did JASMY, and then we'll go into Gala. And then we have a request for HNT. All right, so starting with, what was the, man, link, okay. So we have link open? Yeah, we have link open. Link was one of the other runners. It did really well. All these things running away from us while we're sleeping. We were looking at, what were we looking at recently? Well, either way, we can see that we had a rejection off of the macro value area low here. Like, this is a historical level from the past. And we ended up having that be an area of interest for a potential double bottom. The measurable target for that double bottom has already been hit, it seems. Yeah, we already hit it. And now we're inside of this value area. Now, where's that point of control coming from? 1 second. Just want to zoom out a little bit. Oh, it's a trend. Is it a trend fall? Yeah, a little bit. Okay. So yeah, we can see a potential rotate. Right now we're combating the previous value area, the point of control, as a form of resistance like we did here. We can see that there's liquidity that's stacked up here. So we have reasoning to potentially prepare for it to be used as exit liquidity when we retest it. So here's a good spot also to prepare for shorts, but I don't like shorting in the middle of a value area like that. So I'd rather hopefully see it come up higher to retest this value area high and then give us a good structure to prepare for our short. So I'll mark this value area high here. I'd recommend setting an alarm if you want good conditions for a short that are a little higher probability of being safe. You want to have an alarm around 1521. So at 1521, we do have liquidity up here too, and up here. So if we get that double top, change of character, or head and shoulders, whatever provides you that change of character occurrence in confluence with acceptance back inside that value area, you can start targeting this value area low around 1469. But we have to be mindful of the point of control along the way down. So that's yeah, and the fact that it just went straight up like that, will make things a little bit safer as well when it comes to shorts, because you have like unsustainable pumps like this without any range bound activity. It allows things to be overheated quite a bit, and you'll get more trade participants on the short, because everyone who uses oscillators as a part of their rules or anything like that, they will be jumping on it on a short as well. So you get more backers. And that's also part of the reason why when things pump up hard, they fall even harder, because you get more trade participants on the contrarian entries. Okay. Trump UK tariff speech at 7 a.m. Is that Eastern? Is that what already? Do you have an ETH target for this cycle? For this cycle, yeah, my ETH target for the entire cycle. Let me just pull up the daily. I have an optimistic target, and then I have a less than optimistic target. My optimistic target is around like 7,400. My less than optimistic target is around 3,500. So if you're like, if you got in around here, like 3,500, like a zone that you have to pay attention to, there's a strong point of control there. We have lots of confluence. There's tons and tons of liquidity resting there now, just above 3,500. So that could be used as extra liquidity to drive the price back down. So it's just Ethereum's been having some relative weakness lately, so I'm preparing for like the worst case scenarios. But the best case scenario for me is around 7,500 or 7,300. Sorry. What we got? And I always say like I have like the less than optimistic target, because based on trend right now, and like SUI and other like network tokens are absorbing the market shares from Ethereum, and if we maintain that pace of the scrape absorption from Ethereum, then Ethereum's like just getting more and more relative weakness against them. So I have like a sad target and a happy target. And everyone should have like a sad target, a happy target for everything, so they don't get married to a crazy target. Like people with their like $1 million target for Bitcoin, like you can hold it until then, but it'll take you a few cycles. Okay, so we went through JASMY. Let's go through Gala for Dave. Let's open it up here. So Gala, we have a Gala chart. We just haven't looked at it since February. Is this thing still in price discovery? Let's find out, because it was getting its butt kicked last time we looked at it. Okay. All right, so we are at a really good spot for preparing for longs. But we can tell that based on its positioning, it's got some relative weakness, right? Because if you think about what the other assets are doing based on this positioning, they've already broke their reversal structure, and they're already like halfway to their targets. Gala is a little bit behind, so that tells you where the attention is, right? And the attention right now is, even though things are looking bullish for Gala, the funds are elsewhere. So we have a clear sign of accumulation, like a Wyckoff model. We're building like inverse head and shoulders. We got, we're at a value area low. so we can prepare for a potential rotation to the value area high, which is at 4 cents. That's like percentage wise from the entry zone is pretty massive. That's 113%. This is a ridiculous range. Like this is a 200% range. That's nuts. So like if you're just trading spot, you could double your whatever you put in and like abide by proper rules of using a stop loss. So you can have this break and you can use this as your stop loss guard. Well, we don't know what the structure is actually going to look like when this breaks, but right now this is the current location where I would prepare to put a stop loss. And relative to your risk and your target, what kind of R&R would that be? That's a huge drawdown of 24%. So you're going to be forced to use no leverage. You could use a maximum of maybe 4x leverage on something like that. And it'd be a 1 to 4. So you can either buy spot and potentially double, or you can do it in futures and potentially 4.5x your risk. So if you're risking to lose 100, you would gain 458. If you're risking to lose 1,000, you gain $4,580. But how long would it take for it to get up there? Because then you have to worry about funding rate fees when you're trading a trade like this. And the funding rate fees it depends on the momentum of how long on average it could likely take to get up to the top side. But this momentum suggested 234 days. This from this low to this high was 119 days. So it's best to, even though like Gala could do really well for the next like 3 months, you got to anticipate the funding rate fees when you're trading a trade like this. So spot would be a good call because you don't have to worry about funding rate fees because it's actually a form of ownership. You don't have to worry about paying any contract fees that can go towards people who are holding shorts, stuff like that. So that's what I'll be preparing for with Gala. We've got a really good move potentially coming with it. Thanks for bringing that up. That's a pretty awesome opportunity, honestly. 113%. That's nuts. See. So Gala, we're done that. What was the next request? It was H something. Why isn't there price action on Link? Last time Bitcoin ran to 100K, Link was going crazy. Link has a ton of pairing liquidity to Bitcoin, so it's relative based on Bitcoin's percentage movement. And right now, the percentage-based movement isn't as big as it was back then, right? So like the pairing reserves, percentage-wise, grew much, much more when Bitcoin exploded from the range from like February to October. Let me just pull up the chart. I'm on the chart. What am I doing? Right. So if you think about the pairing reserves like a bank for Link, like when they first created Link, they used a lot of Bitcoin and merged it with Chainlink as a part of like an LP pool that allowed people to swap between Chainlink and Bitcoin. As Bitcoin goes up, Chainlink's pairing reserves with it goes up with it. And a ton of assets do that with Bitcoin because Bitcoin has no CEO. There's no, it has really good tokenomics, right? So when Bitcoin goes up or down, a lot of the assets go up and down with it, even if there isn't buyers or sellers. So before, when Bitcoin ran from like 68K to like 109K, the percentage-based move was pretty large. And same with before that move, like the percentage-based move from like way down here, around like 16K to 74K, the percentage-based move was massive. So like the impact over the LP pool for Link was much greater than it was from this move. So Link is still getting those gains. It's just the percentage impact is smaller. That's all. I think Link can get to like $50. So I wouldn't worry about like what's going on now because the adoption for Chainlink is pretty, like there's a lot of potential there. So we went through Gala, we went through Link, we went through trying to find, there it is, HNT for Haywire. So we're looking at helium. Looking on Bybit's chart. Go on the daily. Zoom out. We have just hit, okay, so HNT is looking a lot like, I know it's not a meme coin. It's got decent utility, but it is behaving a lot like the meme coin. It's getting squeezed between their 50-day EMA and their 200-day EMA. So its positioning is very similar to the meme coin. So it's guess it's getting its attention at the same time they are. We've got the recent rejection at the 200 EMA. We're getting a bounce right now off the 50. So we're getting like an ascending form of support based on those undercuts to the 50-day right here. We are closer to a previous value area high, so we should be preparing for like a short-term probably pump, like based on the curvature here. If we zoom in, we probably can see like some bullish structures. So we're probably gonna get a short-term pump, but more likely going to fall back down to this support level soon. We can pull a fib from this local high to the local low to create a zone that we can prepare for any Fibonacci traders. It's a good time to prepare for something like this, especially if you're anticipating a behavior similar to like a head and shoulders. The right shoulder is usually a rejection off of the golden pocket to 786 level, right? And then we form the right shoulder. So this is like the early entry to a potential continuation pattern that can drive price even further, because these head and shoulders, what they do is they accumulate more and more liquidity below us, acting as a really good drive for market makers to come down and grab it. And at that point, it could be used as sell side liquidity, or it could be used as buy side liquidity to help drive the price back up or come down. That's why it's important to wait for those confirmations when you're using structure like this. And you can use a break of structure continuation into a pool of liquidity to define a continuation, because it's telling you the behavior of what the traders are doing in that area, and it increases your probability of being right for a continuation down. So in this zone, I would recommend like boxing it. A good set of rules when it comes to Fibonacci is you want to stack confluences in these zones, right? And right now we have an hourly order block right in line with the golden pocket, so that warns us that we might just get a tap into the golden pocket and not an actual like reversal structure inside the zone. Let's mark this visual order, send it back. All right, cool. So now I can delete this. So we know that in this zone, we can prepare for a few things. I like to wait for either an opposing change of character inside the zone or against it. But typically, statistically, when we come up and we don't get acceptance into the zone and we usually get like a harsh rejection instead. And those ones I don't usually participate in, but I will definitely jump in on the change of character scenario. So that's what I'll be waiting for with HNT, is just another rejection around the zone. That's short term. All right, cool. So that's HNT. I hope that helps you out, man. Go to back to Bitcoin, go to the 15-minute time frame, zoom in a bit. We're getting that pullback. We mitigated that little area that I was anticipating a potential bounce from. We had like a 30-minute order block there, and we have like low time frame, like a 5-minute demand zone where we have like an impulse move, base, another impulse move. So if we don't get a bounce here, we are likely going to just come right down to at least the VWAP. Let's just send the template back. And then we have to look at the lower time frames for something like this. So here's that little demand zone I was talking about. So yeah, we'll either get a reversal here, or we're gonna come right down to here. And then we gotta be, if we lose this, then we'll have more confluence for this to give us that change of character for a potential reversal. What spot do you think was still a good buy? Or are you talking about which asset? Sorry. Okay, so we looked at HNT, SUI. Okay, let's take a look at SUI. SUI. May 6th, last time we looked at it. So that was 2 days ago. So we were looking at this key level down here. Yeah, May 6th. Yeah, this is what we were looking at. So before we had this like this pullback here that helped define this as a good area of concern for a potential reversal. We had really good confluence. This is another asset that I kind of missed out on my own setup with. But we had a like downtrending momentum level here. We had the VWAP. We had a change of character key level. So we had 3 confluences at this moment, and that drove price pretty high up to the value area low. We pulled back down after we hit the previous value area low. We mentioned that this could be an area of concern, right? This is a huge supply concern here and confluence to the value area low. But then we came down and we broke through it the second time, and here we are. We're now above a previous value area high. We can delete this. We don't need that anymore. We should mark these as 2 separate value areas in case we return back down. But right now we're in an area where you typically prepare for reversals. We're at this orange line, this like thick line right here. Whenever you see a line on my chart that has like the max pixel rate, and that kind of tells you it's a more of like a daily key level. And like here is a this previous zone, we have a lot of people's averages are around this area, and we fought against it 3 times and lost. Now we might be able to beat through it, but we have to see 371 act as a form of support for potential continuation. So every time we come up here, we fail to see it act as support, right? I didn't have to look to know that, right? We didn't get the support bounce off of it. We got just a rejection off of it. So what we want to see is basically a 2 candle pullback at least, and then a higher high to validate it as a form of support. And then we might actually get continuations further up. And if we do get that continuation further up, where's our next barrier? It would be 424. So we can box that whole actual zone. So we might see a strong pullback off of this. But by then we already have acceptance up here. So we wouldn't really, for anyone who's holding, this is a big victory if we end up getting as far as this zone at 420. Because this we'll be reclaiming this whole area by that point. Hopefully we get that retest sooner so we can get more participants to bring it to that area. But we can, yeah, this is a good zone to watch out for. Just a short-term rejection. That would likely just bring it right back down to 371. And maybe we'll build a range here to allow a cool down and a continuation. But if we instead, if we fail to create that like support bounce, then we can prepare for a potential reversal, like similar to what we saw here. And that could drive it right back down to this value area. And then as soon as we get acceptance into that value area, then you could assume like the value area low as a form of target while watching out for the POC. But yeah, SUI's looking great. But yeah, we're in an exciting spot for it, but don't get your hopes up just yet. If we still need to form support off of this. If we get support off of this, then awesome. Okay, that's SUI. Let's go to the Bitcoin. We're in that zone now. Still just chilling. We can prepare for a potential continuation here. So it's close to equilibrium point from here to here. Okay, what we got? We did SUI. Thanks for the ZBCN short yesterday, by the way. How'd that go? I didn't actually jump in on that one either. See, it sucks when you know like the behavior of like most of these assets, but you can only participate. I only can handle 3 trades at the same time. I don't know about you guys, but I just like to be like maybe once in a while I'll have a hedge trade, but usually I'm going with the flow of direction of Bitcoin's bias. So if Bitcoin looks bullish, I'll look for other assets with a lot of pairing liquidity with Bitcoin that also are bullish. Is this the chart that we were looking at? Okay, yeah, we were looking at this short here for ZBCN. I can't say that fast. Well, nice job, man. Yeah, it did really well. We grabbed all the liquidity from below here, so it did better than I would normally anticipate. It actually little emotional all over the place here, so it all depends on how you behaved and how you where you close your trade, but I see reasoning to close it as soon as we tap this area. The continuation pattern here for a good short too. But yeah, we're in a, was it a macro zone? Yeah, we're looking for an SFE. Oh yeah, so it just moved recently 200%. So yeah, and we're in a huge area of concern for it. We'll see if it breaks through it this time, because it looks like it struggles around this area hardcore. The crazy range. Congrats on the short. Good job, man. I could say I can give you guys like 500 setups, but it's up to you and how you perform on when the time actually comes, right? Knowing how to identify the price action, because like you can have your key area, and most of my key areas, by the way, guys, require like a 15-minute candle to close above or below them. Most of the time. Sometimes it's like 5 minutes, okay, but like a good majority of like 90% of the time, you want to have a 15-minute candle close below or above my key areas for proper price exceptions. But if it's like a structure, like a formation or something like that, you need to have a key area and sometimes a retest as well. A retest is usually when I don't trust it, but I'll trust it if I get the retest. Or the R&R isn't great, so it requires like a pullback and a lower low. You did 4 trades once. Yeah. No, one time. H&T. Okay, we did that. That chain link is loud. That's Alright, I'm big time. Okay. So Sanjay wants to look at big time, so let's look at that. We haven't looked at big time in a while too. That's another asset that David likes to trade. Do we have a big time chart? Oh, we're getting a good bounce off this zone, guys. Oh, the 15-minute looks super clean for a potential. If this candle closes above this red one right here, this red body opening, this is where the red body opened right here. If it closes above that, we have an engulfing response of acceptance. It is not engulfing to the candle itself because we have a wick up here, but we have engulfing acceptance, and we can end up seeing this reverse from here. And that's when I usually like to pull out Shihai. Here we go. And see if the green diamond appears below it. If we get a green diamond, like there's a red diamond here. If we get a green diamond appear below this after it tweezes on the 15-minute time frame, it almost always gives us a 1 to 2. I mean, every time. And we just use the low of the tweezer as our stop loss guard. But yeah, let's go to big time. Sorry about that. Sometimes I see something and I get sidetracked. So big time. We do have a chart. Well, we haven't looked at since October 22nd, 2024. That's been a while. I wonder what we were looking at before. With a daily. I guess not much. Yeah. This little valley area up here. We're just taking a peek at that. Might as well just delete this. There's nothing here. So control, click, drag, delete. All right, so we got a brand new chart. We got the dinosaur, so we can see that we're more likely to have the origin price, which is like the starting of the asset. We got downtrending macro momentum. This is a daily. All right, so we watch this level. I'm going to change it to green. We have 1, 2, 3, 4 key value areas. So you want to, if you're creating a brand new chart, you want to look for the macro ranges and pull a fixed range off of them. A sec here. We don't need that one as much. And we got this moment where we lost it. Okay, and we've got an active value area here. This one's a little awkward. We got a value area here. Okay, so I'm going to mark this level as previous value area high. And we've got a supply concern here. We've mitigated it a bit, but we still want to mark it just in case we have a reaction off of it. We got template short. Send it back. We've got sporadic momentum. Oh, I think this is one of those assets I never wanted to trade. I can see why I didn't do very much TA on it. We've had like, we have coaches that traded a lot in the past, but this is not one of the ones that I like trading. Because these wild wicks sometimes disrespect market structure. And you want to be picking assets that you can, investing is different, but when it comes to trading and you're trying to capture a path from your set of rules, from your entry rules to your exit rules, your goal is to capture a path as a trader. As an investor, like you focus a lot on the price and like core areas where we can get a reversal. But if you're combining the two together and you want to make sure you're jumping in on a position of strength, like big time is one of those ones that's really more better for our spot environment, longer term holds. Like short term scalping, it's a little bit higher risk. We have, we're in a macro downtrend. We've been we're basically price discovery down here. Like this is a new price for big time. It's never been that low before, at least not in this chart. We lost momentum at the value area high. We hit a supply concern here. So we're kind of like in a zone where you don't really want to be jumping in on any trades. At least if you're looking at the daily. And like right now you'll be preparing for a short for big time, being at the top of its macro value area high. So I'd be waiting for a potential short. But if we end up like mitigating this full supply concern, which we kind of already did, like the armor must be really weak. Like if we came through it here, which I could see like us running up that quickly, why this would crash that hard, like being at like a supply concern like that, a previous value area high. Lots of reasons for people that try to exit. We tapped it again, so maybe next time we'll actually use this previous value area high as a form of support and run up to our next value area, which would be way up here, right around 1.4 cents. Because we'd have low volume up until then. We have some like supply, like liquidity concerns here that could cause reversals, but we've had a lot of time between now and then, so liquidity might not still be there. But yeah, broke down trading momentum. internally. We already hit the measurable target for the structure. So we have a reason to prepare for a short already, honestly. So it's more bearish than bullish. But what you kind of want to look for more of a picture perfect setup for a short is like price action get at the value area high of the local, like the macro value area, and give you a change of character occurrence, and you start targeting this as a demand zone for a potential reversal. And it doesn't look very big, but that's a 10% move. Yeah, so watch out for that. But nothing yet to go off of. Bitcoin, you got a harsh rejection to the current momentum on the 5. Let's see what happens here. In order to like use this long zone confluence appropriately, we need to have a change of character occurrence after a break of momentum. So if we get the lower low here, we'll have a 5-minute key level here that we can prepare for a long, and they can use a Fibonacci pull from the high to the newly formed low to define a potential target for a reversal. So we're around here. But if we bust past that and we don't get the opposing change of character against us, then you can target the extreme highs. And that's a weak high right now, right? So long as this remains a weak high, we can target above it. And that could drive a continuation to 101K. So there might be a front run opportunity for a larger move. But you just got to watch the barriers along the way up. But we don't have a defined low yet. And I don't like pulling fibs until we get that opposing change of character anyways. So like if we get that opposing change of character, that helps validate this as a potential bottom. So your pull becomes more viable. So we'll see. But it's nice to know what to prepare for when you're trying to prepare. Clement, sorry if I say your name wrong, took the Litecoin short. I was pointing out yesterday, destroyed the double top target, followed along. Good job, man. Yeah, it's like Litecoin. We could kind of beating up Litecoin a lot lately. With its setups are pretty on point. So this was the short that you're talking about here that we took. Well, I didn't take this one either. I was really focused on like trying not to jump in a trade during FOMC, and then but this trade was happening simultaneously with the dot trade. So we took the dot trade. It felt more comfortable. But this one, yeah, this one's great. Good job, man. Double top. There's 2 opportunities. As a breakout trader would have entered here. Maybe you put their stop loss here or here, safer up here. Or the other opportunity is the confirmation, right? Enter here, stop loss here. And we were watching up for the previous value area low, but we broke through it. And the next area of interest was here, the value area high, where we got a double bottom, broke momentum, and rotated our way right back up. And now we're back up here, where you should be preparing for a short again. So let's see how this one goes. I don't know. Oh, did I clone that? We have already gotten change of character. So technically, this one's more statistically bearish than this scenario. Because in this scenario, we didn't have the change of character occurrence. We just had the structural confluence. But this one we do. We got the higher high. We recently grabbed liquidity from that previous high and drove right back down. Not a proper SFP that I would have taken, but you still would have done well taking it. We got a bit of a bounce after grabbing sell side liquidity. So if we get that break of structure continuation, I would jump in on that short. And same areas of concern along the way down. The previous value area low, and we can see we got a good bounce response off of it on the way up. And if we break past that, same target as before, the previous value area high. And that could induce a more macro double top that could drive price back down to these low levels again. I'm hoping that for like any Litecoin holders that doesn't happen, that we at least just maintain this range and then continue to go up, because this is a good, it's creating a good reset right now for Litecoin, letting those investors that are around this zone to get out and new ones to get in, to kind of like raise the floor value of Litecoin a little bit. So yeah, the pathing will look a little bit like this. You just want that lower low. So if anything, we got the change of character rules already met. So what some people will do is they'll pull a fib and find their entry level, and they would enter around here and put their stop loss above a strong high that way as a front run to the break, because the change of character rule was already met. So this is all about trying to get in the retracement rules. But yeah, that's Litecoin. Good job on that, man. Okay. Can you check the inflation on Big Time? They printed much since it began. We can do that. It'd be a good lesson for anyone who doesn't know how to do that. So it's tedious, but if let's zoom out on the daily first. And let's go to coin market cap. I don't know what just happened there. Okay. It's wanting me to log in. Let's go to search. I don't need to log in for that. And we're going to look for Big Time. There we go. Okay, so what we have for the supply stuff here, we've got total supply that could get to is 5 billion. Circulating supply is 1.88 billion. Okay. So it's about, yeah, it's not really there yet. So we have to worry about inflation until then. So December all-time high. I'm going to move my camera here for all those peeps who want to learn this. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to find out the inflationary damage of Big Time. So if the exact same amount of money was put into Big Time from its all-time high was put into it today, we'd be able to find out a price where the market cap would, market cap all-time high would be in today's supply. And so a year ago on December 5th, 2023, the all-time high was 98 cents. So we're going to look for that date after we click on see historical data. So December 5th, 2023, we're going over to, okay, so December 5th, 2023. So we're looking at the day with the highest market cap. So the 4th had the highest market cap. It was 211 million. We'll grab the calculator. There we go. And we're gonna paste the market cap of that day into the calculator. We're gonna go back and we're gonna find out the current circulating supply. We're gonna copy that, Control C, and then we're gonna divide it into that all-time high market cap, and we find out the price. So the inflation is terrible on Big Time. So that just tells you this is not an asset you ever want to hold for long term. So if we get a horizontal line like this, we get the coordinates, we type in 11 cents, 11.24 basically. That is terrible, guys. That is so bad. With inflation like this, it's a big warning sign that this asset may never reach its all-time high again. So this is the market cap all-time high. So if you put all of the money that was in big time at this all-time high in it today, it would only be worth 11 cents. So we would need to have the exact same amount of interest that it was at its all-time high to bring it to that price. And for me to see something like that tells me that this could be in a forever downtrend until its supply stops, until they stop injecting more into the circulating supply. And there, we know that it's like a 5 billion or 5.88 billion or something like that. Yeah, 5 billion total supply it could reach up to. So it has a lot more room to drive the price even further down. At least it has a limit, but man. So we need to have more interest inside of, way more interest, like about 10 times more interest into big time to bring it back up to its all-time high again. That's crazy. So I would do that with any of your favorite assets. Find out what the market cap all-time high is. Find out what the tokenomics are so you can decide whether or not this is a good idea to hold long term. And tokenomics are insanely important. That looks like XRP. Yeah, well, XRP actually is kind of the opposite. But they do create 1 billion tokens per month with XRP, but the amount of interest that they have is far more than something like big time. Any spot buys? When we're looking at like spot opportunities, we were looking at Gala as a really good spot opportunity for a potential basically 2x from here. If we're being at the bottom of the value area, it could rotate to the top value area for a move from 1.6 cents to potentially 4 cents, like 150% move from here. But we haven't confirmed that rotation yet. We don't confirm that rotation until we break like this neckline here. And for other like spot buy, we were looking at QUBIC. QUBIC is doing extremely well so far, heading towards its target. We're now at like the macro value area that we're always concerned about. So we have like a value area low here where we kind of fought against it with 1 4-hour candle, and now we're at the POC. This acceptance could extend the target beyond our initial target of up here, like 17604. Like way up here is the measurable target where liquidity kind of ends for this structure. Right, we stacked liquidity here, we stacked it here, we got some up here. This is a supply concern from the past that we tested once, and we're just worried about it potentially driving the price down in confluence with the 200-day EMA. Like QUBIC though, this value area we're getting acceptance into is from this previous value area range. I believe it's 150 days. Yeah, 140 days. If we break past this measurable target and get the continuation, then the value high is our next area for our target. And that is a 50% rotation. Atom was one, but now it's kind of came and went. So what Atom has done is what we want Gala to do, basically. We could rotate further up to the top of its this decently, I wouldn't say it's macro, but it's almost, yeah, it's 94 days, so might as well consider it macro. And if we get that full rotation up, that's like 16% from our initial entry target. For where we are now, it's 12%, but we have the barriers again of the POC here that we have to watch out for, and these areas here where liquidity might rest that could be used as exit liquidity. And we have this downtrending momentum where we have to watch out for potential sell orders. So watch the order books alongside this trend line. Bitcoin still just crunching in this zone. Am I missing anyone? How about, can you look at pro? Let's see what even is pro. I think I've done TA on that one before. Proppy. It's listed on CoinX, Gate.io, Mexi. Let's check it out on CoinX. Oh, that doesn't look great. Let's zoom out on the hourly. So this thing's got a very low market cap just by looking at the price action. I hope you're not trading this thing. This thing is insane. How long has this been around? January. A couple of years. I haven't heard of it. Yeah, I'll be careful with this one. We're bouncing off this recent little demand zone here, where we had like this impulse move here, built a base, another impulse move up. So we have reasoning to prepare for potential residual orders in that zone. We already got a bounce off of it. We can just mark this level with the horizontal array if you'd like. We got local support. And like I said before, it's kind of in the same positioning as a lot of the meme coins and the lower market cap assets above the 50 and getting compressed against the 200. And this one might be building a head and shoulders as well, just like everything else we're kind of looking at that had that exact same scenario, right? That compression between the two EMAs. We're seeing some sell pressure. You can't short it. There's nothing safe. There's nothing safe. This is insane. So I don't even like giving advice on assets like this because of the fact that like a small fish could influence the price and break structure. So I can tell you based on like what we can see that we're having a warning of distribution, like people are selling for sure against the 200. We've got this 50 EMA here. But like normally I can give you like a key level, like watch this key level, and if it breaks, it's more likely to break to the downside. I can give you a statistical edge on that, right? Like having a full body closure below this level would give you a higher probability of it returning down. But like I said before, it takes a small fish to move the price and break things on you, so it won't be safe to trade. Just be careful. If you're buying it for a spot hold, then yeah, you can watch some key levels to prepare to buy. Like for 0.4543 could be an area where you'd want to wait for like a double bottom structure, a retest and a higher high. Then you can jump in on a position of strength for something like that. But yeah, right now I'd be super cautious about touching this thing. We zoom back in on Bitcoin, see how it's behaving on that demand zone. I do gotta head out soon, guys, but we went through a lot of assets. Like we went through tons of stuff pretty quick. But if we lose this zone for Bitcoin, because it doesn't look too hot on the 15 and the 5 minutes getting crunched. So if we lose this zone, our rotation that we're expecting it to go down to is the VWAP. It's so at 99,000, almost on the dot. So we have a rounded number, so there's reason to prepare for it, like a psychological reasoning for a bounce too. And if we break past that, this is our change of character level. So I'm hoping for a bounce if we're going to be jumping in on a short soon before breaking that area, so we can have a good stop loss guard to prepare for a short. But if we break this, this is our target. 979. Right here. I wish there's a way to set up the visual order to always be sent back immediately after using it. Oh, so we got, let's change this really quick. There we go. Who didn't smash the like button? Now this could be, there's a liquidity here that can induce a pump. If we get a front run to that, then we break, we're more likely to get that full reversal. Where is that? So we're shorting Litecoin chart. So here, yeah, we'll be preparing for a short. The same reason why we did here. Except the reasoning this time is actually a higher probability of actually dropping than this time, because of the structural confluence. Okay. Thank you for all your help in teaching. No problem. I don't think I missed anyone. Oh, we missed Cardano. How about Cardano with all the recent good news in the Bitcoin move? Let's take a peek at Cardano and see how it's doing. I know we looked at it yesterday, and yeah, it says we have a timestamp for yesterday, but I don't remember what we spoke about with it. Oh, it looks like we were looking for a bullish SFP, and we got it too. Or did we get it? It looks like we got it. We had yeah, we did get it. So we had a candle come. So this is the body here. It's the wick level. We came down, grabbed the liquidity, and closed back inside the range. So this is like a bullish SFP candle. That would have been the best time to jump in. And then we had a double bottom structure. Let's zoom in on the hourly. And we had a double bottom structure. We broke that neckline for a continuation. I don't think that was during our, yeah, this was the live here, but we didn't have that structure yet. But I'm glad that, yeah, we had that continuation posture. It was aligned with the confluence of a value area low. So you had an additional confluence for that run up to the value area high. And now we're at the area of concern where you want to prepare for shorts. So we can mark the fact that we have wicks here as well. We can prepare for a potential SFP, but we have the value area high criteria right here. So I'd mark this wick here. And get your magnet ready for something like this, because you want it right on the candle itself. So you make sure you have it to the penny. So with higher probability of a potential SFP in this area. The more range bound we are here, the better for an SFP, because then you can use the range bound criteria to help define the SFP, where most of the price acceptance resides. So we have price acceptance here, 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 and here. And we want to have the candle come up, grab liquidity, and close back inside the same zone where we're having all that price acceptance. So inside that active range. Now price action could develop before this occurs. And we can go range bound a little bit higher, right? We can come up to the value area high and like go range bound here, then grab it, then come down. And you typically want to be looking for the range bound low, like where's the low within that range for your initial target for an SFP. But if we break past the chalk zone, the change of character level, then you can get that continuation down further and start targeting the value area targets, like the POC and the value area low. This POC is pretty strong. I would box this whole zone, honestly, just prepare for reversals within this area right here. So we change the visual order to back, you can see a little more clearly. But you can see that based on the value area data, that we're more likely to go range bound inside this zone and not just get a harsh reaction off the fine POC level. It only would take a few hours of price action here to evolve this to be the POC. Same with this right here. So we have quite a bit of core areas of interest inside this zone, but this is the strongest area right here. So if we get that SFP, watch out for potential reversals around here. If you get the continuation structure and we break down lower, then awesome. Then you can stay in your trade and start targeting the value area low. But this is the main thing you're going to have to babysit. So I would set an alarm near the POC, which is like 71.21. But Cardano is really good at respecting SFP targets. And you usually get the full rotation to the other side of the value area when you get them. They're all over the place. But it's a really good trend trader's asset. Bitcoin's still holding that zone. That's our key area of interest. It's way up there. Hopefully we get... yeah, I guess you could use this. If we break this, then you can pull a fib from here to define a potential confluence-based zone for a Fibonacci retracement. But again, this is a higher time frame week high, so we have reasoning to extend past that and grab liquidity from up here for potential continuation up. But a lot of it banks on this and how we behave here. Do you anchor your VWAP, or how do I anchor my VWAP? This is not an anchor VWAP. So this is the anchor VWAP is here. If you want to have an anchor VWAP, you can anchor it in a few ways that is trustworthy. You can anchor it based on the start of a trend. It could be a macro trend or just an internal trend. You can anchor it to a month. You can anchor it to a year. You can anchor it basically, yeah, there's tons of ways you can anchor it, but I use the daily weighted average VWAP, so it anchors itself automatically and adjusts after the daily candle closes. So you just go to the indicators and just grab the regular VWAP. That's how I use mine. So it's technically anchored to the day. Who didn't like the smash button? Okay, yeah. Does anyone think Trump will discuss crypto in a speech in an hour? Since UK is going against a lot of crypto and all this stuff. I don't know. I don't think so. I think that it's going to be more directed towards negotiation, and I think there's going to be another time and place for something like crypto, but we'll see. It's a good point that that could bring up crypto organically in a conversation because of their opposite interests in it. But yeah, guys, more FOMC behavior from Runaway. Yeah, so it could act like a lot like an FOMC meeting. Whenever Trump talks, it's always good to pay attention when it comes to the charts. And when they say something bearish, you still want to wait for the bearish confluence. Make sure all your rules are met. It's not a day where you forget your rules, right? It's a day where the rules matter the most. I'll tell you that. And in fact, like sometimes it's best just not trade at all when you have like a high U.S. dollar impacting news events like CPI or FOMC. Something like this shouldn't have a huge drive over the price of crypto, but we'll see. It depends on what's being spoken about. But we're now structurally, like we just broke momentum. We just got to bounce off of our key area, and we're about to get the change of character occurrence. So we'll have reasoning to go up without news, and at that point we could pull a Fibonacci pull from the high to the low, and this is our golden pocket zone to our 786, where we can anticipate potential exhaustion. But we still have to wait for that confirmation to get the change of character occurrence before assuming exhaustion and it can come right back down from there. But again, like I said before, this is a weak high, so we can target beyond that. If we don't get that opposing change of character, we can likely get continuation to grab liquidity from these highs. And this liquidity can be used as exit liquidity. We're going to prepare for a change of character up here, or a continuation. But we have reasoning for a continuation, guys. We have reason to go to 101K. We broke past a large amount of the key zones, like a macro point of control. We finally got past that. Right, we got past this zone here, and then we just got the higher high on the daily. So, you know, we got lots of reason to keep going up. All right, guys, I gotta head out. It was awesome hanging out with you guys. The Duckin asking, if Bitcoin continues higher, does that mean the shorts on DOT and Litecoin will be less likely to play out? Yeah, DOT and Litecoin, especially Litecoin, has a lot of Bitcoin parent liquidity, so it could influence the price action for those two assets. Yeah, this is yet to confirm. So if this confirms, then I would think twice about entering any shorts. It's kind of a part of the confluence of reasoning of why you want to wait for a break of structure for this continuation. So we did just grab liquidity, and liquidity can be used as buy side or sell side, right? So we can see here we induced a pump, which is very, very common after a change of character to get it start to go against you almost immediately. I trade change of characters all the time, so I understand like where the key areas are for your stop loss to make sure you don't get stopped out, and it's really common for things to immediately start going against you. So get that break of structure continuation on Litecoin for you to feel more confident in its actual drive down, and then you can use the new swing high as your stop loss guard from the break of structure. Free Breaker, still loving the course. So fun to apply in real time. Yeah, man. There's going to be some changes to the course too. We're going to be improving the Fibonacci section. Kyle, my stop losses constantly get disrespected. Am I doing something wrong? When you say disrespected, do you mean like you're putting your stop loss and you're down when price cross it, it's not getting it's not closing your trade? Or do you mean like every time you place your stop loss, you get stopped out and then it goes the direction that you chose? Because like if it's like a direction thing, it's really common for like newer traders to get stopped out and then see it go the direction. It's really, really frustrating. And it normally means you're not using a strong low or a strong high to protect your capital in a high confluence zone. Strong lows and strong highs are more important in certain key areas. Like they're stronger at like value area highs and at value area lows. But if you get like let's say, change of character occurrence, like here, you could use like this as your stop loss guard. You always want to be looking for the strong high or strong low, basically. And if you try to undercut that, you're going to increase the probability of being stopped out. And some people will try to force R&R, like good R&R. And unfortunately, it's not really up to you. So like here, for example, we've got like a change of character zone. We're looking at the 5 minute. So when this broke here, we got a change of character occurrence. If we look at the order flow of funds, we can see that like there's likely liquidity resting here. And that, yeah, I'm not really explaining this right, but basically right here is a zone where you want to watch for your the change of character occurrence. And when that occurs, you want to look for the newly formed strong low. And you can put your stop loss right here, or you can put it on below this pullback for increased probability of being stopped out. But you don't want to be putting it like somewhere between here and here, or here, for example, because then you don't have that strong low protecting your capital anymore. most strong lows are guarded by market makers, and you can validate that through the order books. You'll see there's going to be giant sell or buy walls in this scenario, like protecting your capital. And a good way of also seeing that is if you see, like, for example, an order block increases the probability of residual orders. So you can think of an order block as a potential barrier for your capital as well. But always, always use a strong low or strong high in confluence with that, acting as like a little guardian for your capital. And if the R&R isn't there to your measurable target, then it means just don't take the trade. All right, we got the change character, getting a pullback off of it. A lot like Litecoin, change character, pull back off of it. We got a lot of reversal price action going on there. 100K psychological barrier for many. Yeah, you can validate that through the order books too. You can see like how many sell orders are at 100,000. People like typing in their rounded numbers all the time. FMC no rates change, acted bullish. You think we'd break this way? I was under the assumption that there wouldn't be any rate changes at all, so I felt like it was kind of priced in. However, people like certainty, so when the rates didn't change and we already knew our macro direction for Bitcoin, the volume started to pick up again because of the trade participants were didn't have that lack of uncertainty, right? But honestly, like, yeah, for something like that, we must have known everyone must have known that the rates were not going to change. With the tariffs going on and how it impacts the uncertainty of how it's going to impact inflation, it'd be really, really, really dumb of them to make any adjustments to the funding rates. I think we're not going to see any funding rate adjustments until probably like September, or at least 60 days after negotiations end with the tariffs, because then they will know, like, because they have lagging indicators that take them like a month in order to get results. They need at least like probably 2 months worth of data after all the tariff stuff to define whether or not it's safe to make adjustments to the funding rates. And I know Trump's in a rush to try to get the funding rates down lower, but it wouldn't be healthy for the dollar if they did that, like in the long term. I think that they should be patient and, wait 60 days after the fact. I'm not an economist, but that's just common sense in my opinion. Like, if you're going to be playing around with something like that that's never really happened in history, you got to see what kind of impact it's going to have over the economy first. All right, we got a full body closure above this neckline. So our probability of coming up here is much, much, much higher. We have some liquidity resting up here, but this is a zone of interest to prepare for potential reversals. And that invalidates the idea of jumping on a short for Litecoin if you're looking at that. But if Bitcoin does get that rejection up here, then Litecoin should form like a head and shoulders pattern. And that could help define a good entry for a short as well. So we have our golden pocket zone here. And if you don't want to jump in on the Fibonacci retracement, like looking at the lower time frame, like 2-minute change character occurrence, then wait for this to break and use the strong high as your stop loss guard. But you should get that confluence with Bitcoin if Bitcoin does reject here. And if it doesn't reject here, then Litecoin's just going to continue to go up. So we'll box this zone here. I'll set it to back. And we'll change the template. Okay, so we do not trust this zone until we get the change of character occurrence within it. We have a vector candle forming. It's not confirmed yet, which we usually reclaim. If you look at history of vector candles, normally as soon as they're created, they're under a threat of an attack. So we might see that reclaimed shortly afterwards. So we have additional confluence forming for a short right now as we speak. I said I was going to go, but And sometimes stuff gets exciting and you're like, let's keep watching. I got some stuff that I need to get done. I use the stop limit, and then there's two numbers to fill, the stop and the limit. I use the low as a limit and the 1 unit below as a stop. Example, strong low. Okay. What platform are you trading on? Okay. Can I close in 5 minutes? 2 minutes, sorry. No longer a vector. All right, grab that liquidity. 1 minute and 50 seconds. A lot can happen in this candle. It's a harsh rejection. Jeez. Is this the, is there news going on right now? Let's see. Oh, you're trading on Binance. So 2 numbers filled, stop and the limit. I use a low limit as your stop loss should only be 1 order. And it should be executed as a market, by the way. You wouldn't want to do a limit stop loss. If you do a market stop loss, it'll almost always be honored. What ends up happening when you're using a limit order system is you're in a queue. So if you have an order, let's say it's at like $100,000 to sell. You want to sell everything at $100,000. However, if there are other people that are already there, their orders need to fill first before yours does at the end of the queue. So if you're using it as your stop loss, then you're asking it to basically fill a bunch of other people's orders first before filling yours, and that increases the probability of your stop loss not being honored at all. So make sure when you're using your stop loss, you're using a market order system, not a limit order system, because you're putting yourself in a queue that way. Market orders are taker orders for a reason. You're taking liquidity, and when you end up having to worry about with market orders is just the fact that you could be going in an area with a low amount of liquidity, so there might be slippage. And so your stop loss, if you had it here, it might not be honored until like around here if during a high volume event and you have your stop loss in a low liquidity area. So I hope that helps you out. But putting your stop losses below like strong lows and strong highs decreases the chances of having your stop loss in the low liquidity area. And you can always use a heat map to help discover that too. Great short along Bitcoin. I haven't been able to jump in on anything that we spoke about during this live. Where is Dot on my giant list of tabs that we've created together here? There it is. Oh yeah. We're in here, a huge area of interest for shorts. For a lot of assets. But we really wanted to have Dot honor this as support though. It's zone here. That is it then? Thanks. Okay. Yeah, I got you. I did that before too because it technically saves you on fees. And so I used to use limits way back in the day. And then I found out like fees usually comes alongside with security in this space, right? If you're picking an exchange with really shady reserves, normally their fees are really low for trading, but they end up taking all your money at one point. If you're using limits, you have lower fees, but you're exchanging it for uncertainty of your stop loss actually being honored. And if you're trying to enter with a limit order, the concept works the same. You're in a queue, and you can use the order books on your actual exchange to find out where you might be in that queue. Where is my, like right here, I'll pull this up a little bit. This is the order books right here on the right hand side. So if you're looking at a certain price, you might see, okay, there's like 31 or 50 Bitcoin or Ethereum ready to be sold at this price. So I know that's roughly where I'm going to be at in that queue. Or you can use the more compiled order book like this one, showing you what the queue is on multiple exchanges, but the queue is only relative to the exchange that you're on. So it's when you're at that certain price, you just look at the queue on your actual exchange and not on like all the other exchanges, because they do have a huge impact over price, and you do want to undercut these guys because they can influence the price through all the price aggregators that all the exchanges are using. But the main important queue that you can be watching is the one that's on your actual exchange itself. You just use spot. Okay, well, cool. All right. Yeah, spot order books are usually slower, a lot slower, so it's easier to spot. Like, I didn't mean to say that. Yeah, it's a lot easier to identify. But yeah, guys, I got to head out for reals this time. I hope that answering all your questions have helped and went through TA on multiple assets there for you guys. It helps a lot if you guys want to subscribe. I'm not really good at asking for subscribers, but yeah, if you guys want to subscribe or share this channel to any of your friends, if they want to learn how to trade, they're welcome to ask questions as well. Until it becomes a little bit unsustainable. I'm thinking like at around like a certain point, I'm thinking probably at like 20,000 subscribers. I might have to figure out a new system to be able to answer all your questions. Maybe like a queue system or something. Moon with Juice, thanks for sharing the link there, man. If you guys want to learn from the courses, get any of the any signals from the community, if you want to get any access to our tools, our indicators, all that fun stuff, think about joining. We have a discount code right now for May the 4th. So if you use the code FORCE, you can get yourself a discount if you want to check us out. All right, guys, have a great day. And